Can you guys see me? Oh, there I am. Hi. Hi. All right, I'm going to let a couple more people join. I don't see any of the comments yet. Hi, everyone. How y'all doing? It's cold out here in Florida. I hope everybody not eating chili tonight. Y'all had that yesterday. And probably the day before. Okay. Just going to let a little bit more people. Hi, Tiffany. How are you? I got my good, well, it's a good bun somewhere. It was a good bun earlier. All right. As y'all can see, I'm inside of my classroom. We got some colors, some shapes, some letters. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start. All right, so hi, everyone. My name is Tabri. I am an early childhood specialist. I have a degree in early childhood education. I am the owner of a small family childcare home. I've been in this field for 9 years. And I have seen the best of the best and the worst of the worst. I decided to pursue early childhood education because I feel like these children needed someone to advocate for them. And I feel like that's what I'm here for. And I'm here to also help adults. I don't like to use the word parents because I know some of these kids are not being raised by their biological parents. So I just use the word adult a lot. This podcast is to, I want to be of a help, somewhat of a help to adults that are raising children, because I know that these children are something else. I work with them Monday through Friday from 8 to 5. So lots of different personalities. If you have multiple children, just a lot of things that adults have to do and have to be when it comes to raising children. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started with some of the topics. So the episode tonight is about understanding yourself and understanding your child. And when I say your child, I'm not just talking about preschoolers. I'm talking about grade school, middle school, high school, your college student. I can even be talking about your inner child. You know, there are probably some things your inner child went through growing up that you have to heal from, or you haven't healed from, or, you know, just things like that. I believe that a lot of adults are raising children from a traumatic aspect. Like, a lot of you guys have been through things in your own childhood, from the adults that raised you, and you're raising your children. You're repeating those things with your children. So I kind of want to be that person to have you stop and think about, you know, be conscious about how you're raising these children. I also want to debunk some of these myths when it comes to raising children. I want to also help use better language when it comes to describing these children. I know a lot of people like to describe children as bad, and that is the least, like, they're not bad at all. I promise you. When I start explaining, you'll understand more. So one of the things that I want to talk about is the difference between, I know a lot of adults, especially parents, like to say that they own their child, right? And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but slavery ended in 1865. So, like, owning humans is illegal, and you could probably, possibly, more than likely go to jail if you're going around saying that you own humans. So you're not the owner of your child at all. What you are is you're their guardian, right? You're responsible for your child, you know? A lot of people like to think those words are synonymous, but they're really not. They're similar, but they have a lot of differences. So I'll give you guys one. For instance, things that you own are um your house, right? Your car. If you destroy your house or get into a car accident, right? That car is gone. You can always get another car, right? You can't always get another child, that specific child, right? So you guys are responsible for your children. And with that responsibility comes a lot. A lot. I deal with this daily, so I understand. Like, I call myself teacher mommy because I'm like the motherly person that these kids look to or deal with during the week. So I have to be nurturing. I have to be available emotionally at all times. Sometimes it doesn't go that way. Sometimes I'm mentally checked out, and it's really, really hard for me to educate these students and deal with them. But just like you guys, I have to push through, right? So that is one of the things that I want you guys to work on changing, the saying of I own my child, because you don't. You're responsible for them. And sorry, I'm drawing blanks as I'm trying to speak. You're responsible for them. And I know a lot of you guys like to what's the word I'm looking for? I'll just give an example. So a lot of you guys feel like you own your child because everything that they do reflects off of you, right? Which is true. If your child goes out to, doing things that they're not supposed to do, it goes back on you and it makes you look bad. But your that's not your doing. Your child made a choice. Unfortunately, that choice reflects you. So we'll get more into that. Right now, I want to talk about the things that you guys are responsible for, right? So I love when I'm on Facebook or any social media site and I hear or I read parents say, like, they're bashing their child. They're complaining about their child being ungrateful, mean, rude, just all these things, right? And the thing that they say to justify why the child shouldn't be like that is because they provide them with clothes and shoes and food and things like that, right? And which is great. As a parent, that is one of their needs that you have to provide for your child. So I'm going to show you guys this wonderful, wonderful triangle that my homeboy Maslow created. This is the hierarchy of needs, right? So what you guys are saying is correct. You provide the psychological needs, right? So I'm sorry, so the food, the water, the warmth, the rest, right? Well, there are three more steps, three more needs that you guys have to provide for your child in order for them to get to this self-fulfillment part of their life, right? So I'm going to show you what those three things are. It's their safety needs, their emotional needs, the belongingness and love, and their esteem needs, right? So yes, you provide them with clothes in the house and shoes and things like that, but do they feel safe in that house that you provide for them, right? Do they have to worry about being woken up out of their sleep in the middle of the night, or any kind of chaos? Is it peaceful in their house, right? So that's another thing. The next step, I like to just summarize it as emotional, because yes, you provide them with the house, but do they feel like they belong in this house? Like, are you nurturing? Are you nice to them in this house? Or do they feel like they're just in this house because it's here? Like, this is all you have to provide for them. Can your child come to you when they're feeling sad? Can they express themselves to you? Can they do any of that? And this all goes into their friendships. people in general need to feel belong, like they need to belong. And when people don't have that, lots of unpleasant things can happen in their life. But yes, this is also one of the things that you must provide for your child. And then on top of that, their esteem, right? Are you calling your child beautiful? Do your child even know what beautiful is? Are you um what is the word I'm looking for? Are you making your child feel like they matter? You know, a lot of parents, from my experience, because I have a parent, I'm a child, that's one of the areas that a lot of parents struggle with. They struggle with the emotional part of parenting. And that's where I feel like a lot of parents struggle with that, because there's a lot of things inside of them that they're still struggling with. So therefore I can't help my child if I'm struggling, you know. And then these villages, they're your villages, these villages that these people have, they're unhealthy, right? So you can say, oh my God, my child is crying a lot, I don't have the patience for this, blah blah blah, right? And then your village will be like, instead of comforting you and helping you figure out how to get your child to stop crying, or how to understand, sorry, why your child is crying, they'll be like, just beat them. That child cried too much. You know, it's so much negativity that you're met with your village when it comes to your emotional needs. And I feel like that's the trauma a lot of us have inside of us from our own upbringing. You know, a lot of our parents did not meet our emotional needs. They justified it for whatever reasons and just went with it, you know. So a lot of the ways that a lot of you guys are parenting is just projection from how your parents parented you and how their parents parented them, right? So we like to call this generational curses and generational curses. So at some point, one of us, somebody has to be like, all right, no, I'm going to stop the way I have learned to parent and do better for my child, right? And I feel like when it comes to dealing with emotions and feelings, the biggest thing that a lot of adults um don't think is like to be curious about why, right? So for children who are capable of speaking, when they're crying, do you guys ever ask, like, why are you crying? Right? What's going on? Why are you sad, upset, frustrated? Why, right? And the kids should be able to tell you, well, I'm sad because, I'm upset because, and excuse me, and that's where you come in with your nurturing ways and you help them figure out the problem so they can stop crying. Okay? So these are the 4 needs that your children need in order to become like this, I don't want to say righteous, but like this amazing human, this human that can express themselves, a human that feels safe, a human that's um emotionally stable. They, especially young boys, we'll talk about that in a minute, just a human that is fully competent of being a great, amazing person, right? And so I'm going to go back into little boys. A lot of a lot of adults, especially adults in the Black and brown community, we don't allow young boys to feel human, right? At a young age, when they cry, it's hush, stop that crying, be a man. What does that even mean? How can a child, 2, 3, 4 years old, be a man? Like, what does that mean? They're still figuring out how to be them, a human, a person. Like, we're still figuring this out, right? And just from my experience, I feel like that's why a lot of these young boys, they're they're angry. They're angry, they're upset, and that's why a lot of them are acting out and making poor choices, because the people that they needed to be there for them emotionally, they needed to feel that love, they needed all of that, let them down. So now they're just out here living. And yeah, so we have to really, really be intentional with how we're raising our kids, right? So, on top of that, we're going to go into something that I love speaking about, which is my homeboy, another child care theorist. His name is Erickson. He talks about um, it's 8 stages of psychosocial development, right? So the first, you guys are, sorry, I'm stuttering. Have you guys ever heard like the first 5 years of a child's life? That is correct. We have been trained to react, not inquire or respond in a logical way. Um, have you guys ever heard the first 5 years of a child's life is the most important? So this is going to tell you why. Is it showing? Let's see. Yes, it's showing. So trust versus mistrust, right? That's the first stage. That's infants, right? Infants need to know that if I cry, a trusted adult is going to be there to comfort me, right? And the strength that it provides is hope. Like, I know when I cry, my person is going to be there. I know if I need something, somebody is here, right? If that child is crying and you're not there for them, it's creating mistrust, right? Because now they don't know what's going on, and now they're probably anxious because infants can be anxious. Um, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. They don't trust you. They don't know, and that's how you get those kids, those infants that are just crying and you don't know what's going on. It's because they don't know what to trust. They don't know what to do. So that's the first stage. The second stage, in my opinion, because I work with this age group, this is the most important stage because it teaches autonomy is a child's willpower, right? A child can tell you no, make a choice, say no, and not be punished for it, right? So if during this stage between 1 and 3, a lot of kids are potty training, right? This is the thing. Whew, I can't wait. Okay, a lot of kids are potty training. So during this stage, they're going to have accidents because they're training. They're figuring out how to use the potty, right? So when they have that accident, a lot of adults react and not respond. A lot of adults make these kids feel bad for having an accident. And then the kids go into shame mode, right? And so because they react like that, every time if you ever notice, if you work in the child care field or if you've ever worked around kids in general or have kids, you ever notice if your child has an accident or makes a mistake, because this trains them on how to handle mistakes, right? So if your child makes a mistake, they immediately go into crisis mode, right? They're crying, they're screaming, it's everywhere because they know they're about to get in trouble. They're about to be punished for making a mistake that can be corrected. You guys can talk to them, you guys can correct them, but instead you make them feel guilty for being a child and learning, right? And so those 2 years, 3 years, that really shapes a child's mind. And in my personal opinion, I feel like those are the years where children start becoming perfectionists, right? They start wanting to be perfect so they won't get in trouble. And when they do, when they don't do something that's perfect or right, it's a meltdown because they have disappointed you. And they don't want to disappoint you. You are the person that they do not want to disappoint. But you never let them know, you never showed them that everybody makes mistakes and that they're okay. You've punished them. And we're going to talk about that too. Actually, we're going to talk about it now. So there is a difference between discipline and punishment. And this is going to lead me into my next and last topic, or I'm sorry, slide. There's a difference between discipline and punishment, right? So as an adult raising children, do you guys ever think about why, when a child does something bad, why the first thing that you want to do is to whoop them or punish them? Anybody? Who taught y'all that? Where do y'all get that from, right? So for our Black and brown people, that dates back to slavery, right? We didn't do something the slave owner, our ancestors didn't do something the slave owners told us to do, we get whipped. They don't have the patience to teach us or anything like that. But do you think that those slave owners were having that same energy towards their kids? No, they probably were sitting down and saying, hey, look, this is what we do. So that is one of the generational curses that has been passed on from generation to generation to generation. Nobody stuttering, nobody ever stops to think like, hey, let me take a step back, let me get myself together, and let me figure out how I can handle this situation in a different way. And for y'all that have those children that are immune to whippings or getting beat, do you guys ever think like, okay, so the whoopings are not working, what's next? What do I do next? You done beat this kid until they couldn't cry anymore. You done left whelps on them. And the next day they got in trouble again. You beat them again. The next day they got in trouble again. You beat them again. When does it stop? When do we stop, right? So I'm going to go into the last slide. I'm sorry, I forgot to show you guys this slide. I don't know if you guys can read that, but that's a better description on what's happening during those stages of development. I'll let that play out so you guys can read it or take a screenshot or anything like that. And we can just keep talking about, I'll keep talking about parenting, right? Because there are many different styles of parenting, but there are only 4 that we discuss in the childcare field. And there are really only 2 that people are doing. And I'm going to share that with you guys now. Right? Boom. These are the 4 styles of parenting. Where a lot of you guys are at is you're at the authoritarian stage, right? And we want to get you guys to the authoritative stage. So as you guys can see, the authoritarian stage is basically, if you guys watch the movie Matilda, it is the Wormwoods and Miss Trunchbull. Kids do not have a say-so. We do not care about your feelings. You are a child. Stay in a child's place. Your feelings don't matter. Like, I'm the adult, right? Listen to my rules or get punished. That is literally that style of parenting that a lot of parents, a lot of adults have been taught to do. And it's sad because children need their feelings validated, right? And that goes back to autonomy. Children need to know that they can say, I don't want to do this. And it's okay. A good example that I use for this is dinner time, right? You cook a meal. So good. Season everything, smells good. Boom. You sit your kid down to eat the food. They nibble a little bit and they say, all done. And you're looking crazy because you just spent an hour in the kitchen and your child ate 2 bites and talking about they're all done. All done with what? What are you all done with? I need you to keep eating, right? But the child has let you know they ate what they could or what they wanted. They're done. You don't respect your child's wishes because now you're mad, right? You're mad. You're furious because you need to eat your food. And that's where the authoritarian parenting comes in. That you didn't respect their wishes. You didn't ask them why they were done. Maybe they had a lot of food during school, or who knows? Maybe they don't like it. But they tried it. They're done. And that's that. A lot of you guys don't accept that. A lot of you guys don't accept a lot of your child's, you like to call it defiance, right? And it's not defiance. Your child is just advocating for themselves. They're telling you, I don't like it, in hopes of you respecting their wishes, right? It's a process. This is something that I let my students do. I have 2 and 3-year-olds, and this is something that I have taught their parents to do as well, and to accept. It's okay for a child to tell you no, but it's how they say it, right? So if you ask them, Do you want your food? They can say, no, thank you. Doesn't that sound a lot better than no? And that's just with life in general. Learning how to say things in a nice manner and having people respect how you feel. I have been on live for 26 minutes and it feels like I just hit play. So I kind of feel like I rushed through that too. So I'm gonna open up the comments and show my face. This was my first live. If y'all don't know me, I'm very nervous. But I feel like I did good. And for those again who don't know me, my name is Tabri. I am a early childhood specialist. I run my own small family childcare home called The Learning Fort. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm usually full of resources. You can call me, sorry. Keep going, Shantae, keep going. That was all for the first episode. Thank you guys. Y'all gonna make me cry because I was really nervous. That was all for the first episode. If you guys give me questions that I can go off of, I can keep going. Yeah, there's 3 more episodes that I plan on doing. Let me see if I can find. One talks about special needs. Thank you. One talks about special needs. Let me see. Oh, I just saw something and it just, all right, cool. So I'll keep going because I just saw this and it triggered something. All right, so triggering, right? So a lot of parents, when they react to their child's unpleasant behaviors, more than likely it's because they are triggered, right? Triggered, you're not in the mood. You're tired. You've had a long day. You had a headache. You're hungry. Your car got towed. You need gas money. Your bill behind. Like, it's all of these things, and your child doing something in that moment triggers you to react, right? And it's not your child probably looking at you like, what in the world? And it's not even their fault. It's you not understanding or not working on your triggers, right? So understanding your triggers will really help you with raising your child, because at the end of the day, you're the adult. Okay, you're the adult. So when your child is on 10, as we like to say, you have to be the one to walk out the room, calm yourself down, count to 10, punch a pillow. I like to eat a lot, but calm yourself down, because when your child is on 10 and you're on 10, what happens when you fight fire with fire? Right? So, like I said, I know this is hard because we're conditioned to react to our child's unpleasant behaviors, and especially when we're out in public, because you ain't gonna embarrass me. It's a you thing. That's an ego thing. But yeah, we have to really learn how to respond to our triggers so that we're not. Respond to our triggers so we're not projecting or reacting to our child when they have nothing to do on why we're upset. It's really a you thing. Raising children is a you thing. So if you have traumas, if you have any kind of ill experiences with other adults, your parents, we're going to talk about parenting as well. I'm going to be vulnerable and talk about my upbringing as well on this podcast, because I want you guys to understand how my wonderful parents created this wonderful child with a lot of emotional issues. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because I want y'all to be able to see that I'm human. I'm not perfect. I have video clips that I'm going to show with my students where I lose my cool. My tone is loud and it scares them, and I have to get it together, because I did not mean to scare them. I was just frustrated, right? I have to be accountable. You have to be accountable when it comes to raising these children, because we want these children to be the children of the future that Whitney Houston was talking about, right? Because right now, I don't think they get it, but they can be there. We can get them there. What tools you recommend using on it that doesn't open up no matter? Figure out why and have them I want to say write letters, but some kids don't like writing letters. So figure out how you can get them to open up. Ask them some of the things that they like to do. You know, maybe if they like going painting, take them out painting. And while you guys are painting, strike up a conversation while they're in their zone, they're comfortable, they're connected to you because you're doing something that they like to do, and see what happens from there. I can tell you for me, growing up, my mom was a single mother of 6 kids, right? So I was the most emotional child my mother had. I own that, right? My mother didn't know my teenage years. My mother didn't know how to handle those emotions, right? Because there got to a point where like I'm also a highly sensitive person. So like the smallest thing will make me cry or trigger my emotions, and I am reacting instead of responding to them, right? But I'm 14, 15, I'm still figuring out life. I don't know. So I would go to my mom to talk, and it got to a point where she started shutting me down, right? So as a child, a teenager, if I can't go to my trusted person, who do I go to? So you have to really figure out, or not firsthand. I mean, if they're open to, but get to the root on why they're not open. And I'm 32 years old, and I still have a problem opening to people because I feel like, am I going to open up too much? And they're going to be like, all right, all done. I'm tired of you opening up to me. Bye. Right? So it's you really have to build a rapport and build some really, really good trust with that child. And I can show you guys, hold on, let me go back to this, right? So teenagers go through the adolescent stage, right? Or the 6 to 11-year-old stage, right? So that is stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 and 5, right? So a lot of teenagers go through a stage where they don't know who they are, right? Who am I? Who am I? A lot of teenagers also, and I was one of these teenagers, I went through a stage of, I really don't know who Tabri is, right? It got, as you see, I have a really loud, deep voice, so to speak. So growing up, I was told that I sounded like a man, right? So I'm not a man. I don't want to sound like a man. So I taught myself how to be more acceptable, have my voice be more acceptable. So if anybody knows me, they know I use this voice right here, right? And it's just like the most preppiest voice ever. But I would rather use this voice instead of using my normal voice, my natural voice, because I would rather for people to think I'm just like a preppy woman instead of a man. So that was also something that I dealt with growing up, and it made me shut down. I'm gonna go back to this. A lot of teenagers as well are also going through puberty. Okay, so I actually made a Facebook status about this, especially for young girls, right? Young girls, when they start developing, it's not met with nurturing, it's not met with understanding and compassion. It's not met with that. A lot of young girls, when they start maturing, it's met with negativity. Their cycle starts. It's, oh, now you grown, you're gonna be out here doing X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, bro, I just started bleeding. I don't even understand like why this happening. And then I don't know. And then now I got boobs growing. Like, I don't know. And instead of like helping me through this stage, you're shaming me, right? And that is also something that I dealt with growing up, being shamed because it was my time to mature. So yeah, that's a good question. You're welcome. Are there any more questions? I like answering questions, y'all. Put the questions on. Let me see if anybody got some more questions or if I missed anything. No, not yet. No. Also, if you do think of any questions, you can go to my Facebook page, The Learning Fort, and you can send me a message, or you can visit the website, thelearningfort.org, and you can send me a message, and I'll get back to you at my earliest convenience. I am a person that is full of resources. If you can't find what you need on my page, message me, and I will get that information out to you. I work quick and fast, so you'll get it probably within the same day if it's available. Yes, create a space. Talk about anything. It's over, but it's like whatever. So boys are, so girls are emotional. Boys are, and this is from experiences with my brother. So like when boys become teenagers, right? They call it smelling themselves, right? They beat them chest. It's the man of the house. It's this testosterone, this masculinity. It's just like what is happening? What is going on? So you have to think for your nephew. Is he being talked to at home? Does he have people that he can talk to about his issues? Does he feel safe? You know, when people don't have their needs met for such a long time, they withdraw themselves. And they isolate themselves, and they don't trust anybody. They don't want to be bothered. It's just, you said you got a teenager. It's just them, their hoodies, and music. Like, that's it. So you have to really provide that safe space for him so that he can talk and you can figure out how to help him. My brain, this is the ADHD brain, by the way. My brain. So let's talk about shaming children, right? Have you ever had a child cry and the first thing you ask them is, what's wrong with you? Right? That's such a negative question to ask a child, because say they're crying because they miss their mom, right? And you're asking them, what's wrong with you? In their mind, they're going to think it's wrong for me to cry because I miss my mom. So instead, you can change it up and say, what's happening? What's going on? And that's going to allow them to break down and really talk to you about whatever they're going on. But when they're met with what's wrong, oh, nothing. Even if it was nothing, don't worry about it, because I see right now, you're not going to help me. You sound like you got an attitude. What's wrong? Just sound like an attitude. What's wrong with you? That don't sound helpful at all, and compassionate. None of that. Lacks all of that. All right. Any more questions? I'll give it like a couple more seconds. This wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm happy y'all told me to do this, because I was going to keep postponing it. I ain't going to lie. All right. Well, thank you for joining. Remember, it's not your child, it's you. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.